Welcome back to BK Nothing But Nets podcast. You want to do 2 rounds, Dylan? You want to just do one today?
Let's stick with one. The second round is so slim. I'm not
Yeah.
even going out of my way to look into those. I know the top 40 at this point, but it's very difficult to kind of even know who's in this draft at this point between 41 and 60. So let's stick to one.
Two kind of you get to the middle of that second round, the end of the second round. It's kind of like pulling teeth.
Yeah, and you're starting to name
you're
starting to name like Walmart employees, and I'm like, all right, this is.
Well, a Walmart employee was a pleasant surprise for the Nets last year. It's Tucson from Walmart.
Yeah.
Where does he stand? Is he going to be? He's on
a guaranteed two-way contract, so he's not even like a roster spot. You could just ship him back to the G League. Yeah.
He was the MVP of the G League or something like that, wasn't he?
No, I don't think so. I want to say it was J.D. Davidson. No, it was J.D. Davidson this year from the Celtics. He was the kid out of Bama, and then last year I think it was Mac McClung.
I know, yeah. Which McClung can't get any rotational minutes. Can he?
It's so weird too because he kind of reminds me of an extremely athletic T.J. McConnell. That's what he like. I think that's a perfect fit for him.
Yeah, there's no team in the league that wants to give him some burn. Like he can't get in a rotation anywhere.
Crazy to me. Yeah,
I'd bring him in here, give him a shot. Like I'd rather play him than play D'Angelo Russell
while wearing the D'Lo jersey today.
While wearing the D'Lo. But you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. Maybe McClung can be good. Maybe not. Probably not. But he obviously has a skill set and some athleticism. There's potential upside.
No, I definitely agree. I mean, he deserves a chance at some point. It's kind of ridiculous that he doesn't. He has out of this world athleticism.
How tall is he? 6'2", 6'3"?
Yeah, I think 6'2", 6'3", somewhere in that range.
It's not that small. He's a crazy athlete.
He's at that like Kyrie type height, like 6'2".
He's got a decent build too, right? Like he's probably close to 200 pounds,
he's built.
Right?
He's got muscle. Yeah. He definitely doesn't skip his 5 days a week. That's for sure.
He's made more money in the slam dunk contest that he has in the NBA career.
Yep.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
6'2", 185. All right.
Yeah, that's literally me. Except I don't have that bounce. I got the goofy, slow paced Luka game, but it works.
Some of the best players in the NBA are not hyper athletic. Is Jalen Brunson hyper athletic?
No.
You know what I'm saying? Luka, obviously. Is James Harden hyper athletic?
No.
A lot of the top players in the NBA are not crazy athletes. I mean, some of them are, but a lot of them it's just footwork and skills.
Yep. No, footwork works.
Mac is already 26.
Jesus Christ! Yeah, I think he played. Did he play 3 years at Georgetown?
He went to Texas Tech before that, so he's probably a 4-year guy. Let me.
Yeah, so I think he did 2 years at Georgetown, 2 years at Tech. That sounds about right. Or am I completely off?
He did he did 3 years. He did 1 year at Tech and then 2 years at Georgetown.
Okay, so he did come in as a junior.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. It's probably the COVID year too, right?
College too.
Yeah, he was really good. I was going to say, did he get drafted the COVID year?
No, he got drafted 21.
21, okay. That's considerably the COVID year now.
Well, no, COVID year.
That was the mandate.
June of 20, yeah. He got drafted in June of 21.
Yeah. Yep. We're still doing this, Lou? Yeah. God damn it.
Yeah, yesterday Lou was super excited because we had 2 Petes in one room.
My God. I was going to say, and even when they do decide to say my name, they just spell it wrong.
Yeah, he spells it like Corey Dillon, right?
Or Dylan Brooks.
I think that my wife's name is Megan, and people spell her name wrong all the time. So when she's writing an email to someone she wants to piss off, she spells their name wrong because she knows it gets
Is she a GH or is she just a G?
She's Meghan. Yeah.
Okay. I'd be honest. I'd spell it wrong too.
Everyone does. Like if you don't know, then it's fine. But if she corrects you and then you continue to do it, it gets underneath their skin.
I know.
And then Megyn Kelly ruined it for everyone. Now people get like way wrong. They spell it with a Y and stuff. It's like, no, that's not how you spell Megan.
There's a way to spell Megan with a Y?
Megyn Kelly spelled with a Y. Megyn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it crack or meth at birth?
I don't. She's not even from in the South. Well, you know that because you live in the South. That we like to spell names, however.
I was gonna say, so it was definitely more meth. Yeah.
When we were in the hospital, when my wife was giving birth to our twins, we had a nurse named Katie, Kaydee. I shit you not. It's like you're from the South. When
I was gonna say, yeah, they try to spell Katie and they spell Caddy. Yep, that's crazy. Wow. Yeah, I mean, South's different. It is. The level, I don't even know if I should say.
Don't bash the South. We're not doing that today. I love the South.
No, it's not even just a bashing. It's just it's a fact. Like being from the Northeast, you think people are crazy and weird, but you go down south and you see some of the biggest people you've ever seen in your life. Like Charles Barkley was not wrong about those San Antonio women. That's how I feel living in South Carolina now.
San Antonio, though, is like it's either one or the other, right? You know, like when you have like models now, they're either super hot or super fat, right? There's no in between. That's San Antonio. If you walk around San Antonio, and I'm in San Antonio a lot, you either get like incredible looking 20-year-old Mexican American girls, or you get exactly what Charles Barkley is talking about. They're 300 pounds. They're disgusting, right? Like, but that's it. There's no in between. It's either super hot Latina or 300-pound chick. There's nothing. Crazy. There's nothing in the middle.
No, like I had a small part-time job when I first moved down to South Carolina. It was just out of college because I needed something to just stay busy down there because I was going crazy. I didn't have my friends, my girlfriend, none of them down there. So I'm working at this place, and like when I tell you I've never seen some people fatter in my life, like it was impressive. I was at the gym. So yeah. I've been back in Jersey for like a month and a half now. And there was a person at the gym about 2.5 months ago when I was down in South Carolina. And she had sections of her leg. Like that's how much fat there was that was rolling over. There were sections coming down from like the thigh to the calf to the shin to the ankle. And then while she's on the treadmill, and mind you, she's probably about 440. Like, and I'm not exaggerating it. Like 440, 460, somewhere in that range. Could be on that like show that people watch for fat people. While on the treadmill, looking like that, she has a like how they have those huge water jugs, like the clear ones where you can see.
Yeah.
She has soda in it. It's Pepsi. It's Pepsi or Coke. It's one of them. It's a dark soda. And I was like, why don't you just get off the treadmill? You're not helping yourself.
Yeah, how do you let it get to that point? Like
that's what
I got to 250. I was 70 pounds overweight, and I was like, I got to make some life changes, man. 70, not 200 pounds overweight, 70 pounds overweight, and I was like, yo, I can't live like this anymore.
Yeah, no, like a year and a half ago, I was 227. And now I'm down to 180, 185. That's where I range now. Like, it's not hard. Just be disciplined.
It's not hard. It just takes a level of discipline. Like, that's it. It's the easiest thing to do if you just stick to it, right? Like, I've never seen a person that eats a high-protein diet, that goes to the gym every day, that doesn't stuff cake and cookies in their mouth, who does that every day for 5 years, and then they're fat at the end of 5 years. Never seen it. It seems like there's a pretty easy blueprint to follow here.
Yeah.
You
Stop
just
eating between certain times of the day. Drink water. Get rid of soda.
Water.
Like it's really not hard. I don't drink soda anymore. And I was a big soda drinker growing up. Like the Orange Crush Fanas or whatever they were.
I drank a lot of Mountain Dew and a lot of Dr. Pepper.
Okay. Yeah. I was a big Sprite, Coca-Cola, and Fanta. And like the Crushes, like both of those orange sodas. I'll
be honest, I've quit every substance that you can think of. I'm not going to say things on the internet, but you can.
Yeah.
Okay. Quitting soda was the hardest thing ever. I still get urges to drink Dr. Pepper every time I
See,
see
I've
one. I
had
don't
no.
get.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've never had an urge for it. I haven't drank.
I've,
I've maybe
like
taken
I
a
don't
couple.
drink anymore. I don't have an urge to drink anymore. I used to
Yeah.
smoke. I don't have an urge to smoke anymore. Every time I'm at a restaurant and I see Dr. Pepper on the menu, I so want a Dr. Pepper. Like
Really?
I'm so bad. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I haven't really drank a soda. I don't think I've actually drank a full soda in probably well over 3 years.
I haven't. It's been a couple of
Because once I
years.
turned 21, it was like, all right, when I go out to a restaurant, do I really want a soda or do I want a beer? Like, it kind of
See,
like
drinking
that's where it
for
turned
me
for
was
me.
different. I was never really a drinker like that. Like I didn't want to drink a beer or two. I wanted 12 or I wanted none. If we were going to drink that
Oh,
night,
okay.
we were going to drink that night.
Yeah.
If
See,
we
I'm
weren't going to
more of
drink
a
that night, then I'll
relaxing.
just drink a soda. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a relaxing drinker. I'll have like my 1 to 3. I don't really like. I'll look for a little buzz, but I'm not looking to end up on the floor drooling, piss down the leg. Like I can't do that. I'm good. I'll
I
have like
remember I
1 to
was
3.
flying first class once, and it was a short flight. Like it was like Dallas to Austin. And the flight attendant asked me if I wanted a beer. I'm like, I want like 9, and we really don't have any time for that, so I'll just have a soda, right? Like, if it was a 3-hour flight, I'm like, just keep them coming, just keep them coming.
Yeah.
But it's like a 40-minute flight. I'm like, I don't have time to drink 9 unless I really want to
I
make
was
a
gonna say
sport
I
out of this.
hate flying. Flying is like my biggest fear. I have not had a passport in well over a decade. I'm 23. I haven't had a passport since I was 9, and I hate flying. So like even when I had to do the small trip from Jersey to South Carolina or
You
South
gotta
Carolina to Jersey,
drink.
it's
You
like an
gotta have
hour
a
and a
few.
half flight. Yeah, and every single time, every single time I have 2 or 3 rum and cokes on the plane. I have to.
My wife's a flight attendant. You're not alone. There are a lot of people like that.
Yeah, it's my
Yeah.
heart rate goes through the roof. It's really bad. But no, that's sucks.
Whoa! Where did this come from?
That's from fucking left field. Holy shit.
That's out of the blue.
That could be
Out of
top
the
5
blue.
common of all time on this show.
That's
Wow.
out of the- All right.
Oh my god.
You ready to get into this mic?
Yeah, let's get it. We're only almost 15 minutes in
12
already. Let's
minutes
do
in,
this.
and we're still
Cooper
talking
Flag.
about
You
fat
are
people just having some discipline.
yeah, we're gonna stay disciplined and we're gonna go Cooper Flag at 1. No brainer. They're ready to contend with him. Very similar position as to when Jason Tatum entered the league. This is Adam Silver's dick. Nothing else to say. We're gonna have our first trade.
All right, so I was gonna ask. So we know Dylan Harper is 2, but what team does he go to? So we're gonna have a trade here. All right,
We're gonna do a trade, and I don't know if they would specifically trade up for this player, but there are rumors about them trading up to 2 and to 3. I know they love Ace Bailey, but realistically, this player makes a little bit more sense for them. So we're gonna do New Orleans, and I'm gonna have you type in a couple of trades here. So the Pelicans are gonna give up pick number 7. Okay, yeah, you want to type it out first? So the Pelicans give up Trey Murphy in the 7th overall pick for the 2nd overall pick in Keldon Johnson. If the Pelicans need to throw in an extra first to get that done, they can do so.
Ooh.
But
why can't I not spell Murphy? Why does it look so wrong?
Murphy.
Is that right? It looks wrong. Okay,
Yeah.
give 7 Murphy to San Antonio for Keldon and 2.
And I think that this is a really good pivot move for San Antonio, right? If you're able to land Trey Murphy, New Orleans has stated that anybody on the roster is available outside of Zion. If they're serious about that, I'm not looking to just add a Herb Jones for the 2nd pick, right? I'm looking at Trey Murphy, a guy who, if you miss out on Kevin Durant, could be a potential star wing in this league. He already had a borderline star season, and he's also much younger on a much cheaper deal. On a long-term deal, you don't have to worry about extending him like you do Kevin Durant. I think this is a match made in heaven if it happens.
I do too. I'm looking at this trade and I'm like, well, why would they trade Murphy after the season? He's on a great contract now. He's on one of the best contracts, but because you're getting Dylan Harper on a rookie deal. That's
exactly.
Why.
Yep. And if you look at their current roster construction, CJ McCollum has 1 year left on his deal. That'll open up $33 million for them next year, right? Keldon Johnson's on a cheaper deal. He's also on a shorter term deal that'll free up cap space shortly. Kelly Olynyk is on an expiring deal. You have DeJounte Murray, who, depending on how he comes back from that Achilles tear, maybe you look to trade him just to eat at some bad contracts and free up cap space. But regardless, starting your new era around Zion with Dylan Harper, the Pelicans own the swap rights to Milwaukee's 2026 and their 2027 first-round pick, meaning that if Giannis decides to leave this upcoming season or next season, that 2027 pick could potentially be a top 10 pick, right?
Yeah.
So at that point, you're kind of just putting it into his hands and hoping that he leaves at some point, because they also have the Pacers' top 4 protected pick next year. So 2 picks in 2026 and a pick in 2027, one of which should be incredibly valuable. I think that's a perfect fit for them. So we're going to go Dylan Harper to New Orleans at 2. Yeah.
So what are they? CJ would be out, yeah, and then DeJounte Murray they probably look to move to.
Yep.
Or they keep Murray.
Well, I think that they would look to, because DeJounte has
play Murray and could you play Murray and Harper together?
You could.
Big backcourt.
Yeah, you could. Just depends on who wants to play the 2, who wants to play make more than the other, who wants to bring the ball up more than the other. But 3rd overall pick, we're going to do another trade. And I think this would be the first time ever that you see 2 trades in the top 3.
Because not often do you get 2 teams looking to compete, picking 2 and 3.
Exactly. So what we're going to do is, and this is a mock trade that I saw, I believe, by Bleacher Report, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to do Washington again. I believe that we did them last time, but it makes so much sense. It's either Washington or Brooklyn, but I just don't see Brooklyn moving that high up for Ace. It's going to be my question is do they look to take on the Paul George contract and grab Chris Middleton? I don't think it's that complex. Let's do the 6th and 18th overall picks to Philly for Andre Drummond and the 3rd overall pick. And if you go up real quick, you just have to make sure you add that 18th pick over as well. So 18 is going to go to Philly. 3 is going to go. Yep, perfect.
So we got Philly. This is interesting. Okay, hang on.
So Philly will now be picking 2 spots ahead of us at 8. They'll be at 6, and they'll also be picking the pick before.
They're now picking 3 times in the top 35. A team in position with cap issues. Are they looking to do that? Are they going to look to move off 18, let's say? Do they want that many picks when they're looking to compete?
I think so, because you also have to remember that this isn't just about competing. It's also about building up the roster to, play it safe as an in case if Embiid and Paul George don't work out.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like mixing and matching, right? I think, they have their core at the starting 5 to contend. It's just the depth that they add around him that they could either add youth or some guys through free agency.
I'll give you Cam Johnson and 19 for 6 and Paul George. Would you do it?
No.
Okay.
No, that Paul George contract is that bad.
It's really bad. It's like having
if it
Ben
was a
Simmons
1 or
again.
2 year deal, I wouldn't mind it. I'm not doing it for 3-4 years now. That's just not happening. And it also has a 15% trade kicker, meaning that it goes up in price per year if he gets traded.
Does it?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep. 15% yearly salary goes up.
And God, that's a lot on that high of a contract. Yeah.
It's not pretty at all. Washington here's going to select Ace. Like I said, I think this is one of 2 teams that makes a lot of sense to trade up for Ace. Having a young core of Bub Carrington, Bilal Coulibaly, Ace Bailey, and Alex Sarr is something incredibly enticing. Not to mention they also have Jordan Poole, Chris Middleton, Marcus Smart, and Corey Kispert, all 4 of which are expected to get traded at some point within the next year. So being able to net back some value for those veterans while also having your young core in place, Washington's actually in a really good position right now.
I want to ask you about that. Is it Ace is going to go 3? It just depends to who. Like
you have to think so.
Yeah.
Like there's no world that he should, in terms of his upside, he is by far a top 5 pick. It's just the teams that are in that 2-3 range are a bit difficult Charlotte at 4 doesn't make sense for him. VJ is going to be our pick here. And then it leaves you at 5 with Utah, which is a team that makes sense for him. I don't hate that for them, but does he get to 5, right? When you have teams like Washington and Brooklyn at 6 and 8 who would probably want to move up for him. Even New Orleans now is rumored to want to move up for him. So to me, that's why I did the San Antonio deal, right? I think them indicating that they like Ace Bailey a lot, meaning New Orleans, kind of shows that they are willing to move off of Trey Murphy. And I think that it just depends on which player they want. Do they want Ace as the replacement, or do they want Dylan Harper? If I'm New Orleans, I'm going Dylan Harper. But if it's easier to get the 3rd pick, then I could very well see like a Andre Drummond and a 3rd pick for Herb Jones and the 7th pick. Like I could see that happening as well. But at 4, we go VJ Edgecombe. I think that this is by far the best fit in the entire draft. I've been saying it. This is a match made in heaven for Charlotte. You get your 2-way guard to play alongside LaMelo, Miles Bridges, and Brandon Miller. And if you also think about it, the biggest issue with VJ this past season was his inconsistency as a shooter. And there's no better situation to put him in than to be the 4th option shooter. So gives him a bit of time to develop his game at his own pace. He has time to make mistakes on the offensive end. He's got guys to clean that up for him. But I think that his upside and his fit in Charlotte is going to be something that a lot of people talk about in a couple of years.
So this is an interesting pick. Utah, there's 2 guys. Actually, I think the top 3 guys make sense to Utah here at 5. Where do they go?
Yeah, Utah here, I got them going Trey Johnson. I think that the way that he's risen up boards, it makes more sense for them to take a 2 guard than it does to take a Jeremiah Fears, simply because you already have Keontae George and Isaiah Collier, right? At the 2 guard, you really need somebody to help out Larry Markkinen in that backcourt. So I think Trey Johnson's a perfect high upside piece for them.
This puts Philly in a weird position. Do you draft Embiid's replacement?
That's exactly the route that I'm going. They have links to him. They have interest in him. They move Andre Drummond in that Wizards mock trade that we just did. Go grab your backup big man and a guy who has a very similar path into the NBA as Embiid did. At 7'2", can space the floor. He's highly efficient within the post game, and he's the best rim protector in this year's draft class. So I think that this is an absolute home run pick for Philly.
All right, that puts Fears available. Carter Bryant, Con Knipple, Asengwe.
You know who I'm going.
Now a team that's loaded at the guard position.
Mm-hmm. The con man comes off the board.
Or do they take more of a fit player and more of an NBA ready player in Bryant, Knipple, or do they take Asengwe?
They go Knipple here. I'm going Knipple. We spoke with Dusty, the Spurs reporter, and he mentioned that San Antonio has a deep desire to go out and try and find a way to get Con Knipple. I think it's a match made in heaven, and if you really look at the roster that they would have after that Pelicans trade, you would have De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, Trey Murphy, Jeremy Sochan, and Wemby as your starting 5. You would have Con Knipple, Harrison Barnes, Malachi Bram, Julian Champagnie, potentially Charles Bassey off the bench. And of course, you have a ton of room to add pieces throughout free agency and throughout trades as well. So I think that this is a perfect move for San Antonio. And it also makes sense to trade back with New Orleans because 1, you're getting Trey Murphy, a borderline star, and 2, you're getting the pick right before Brooklyn, a team that does have interest in Con Knipple. So if they want him, they can't go further than 7.
And they would take him over Carter Bryant?
Yeah.
Who would you take if it was you?
My choice is the Nets. I'm going Carter.
Yeah, me too.
Also, Alex, I do not believe that guy. That's his 3rd or 4th account. He's been exposed numerous times for reporting false shit. I would not take it seriously.
What were we talking about?
That Ari report, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's had 4 or 5 different accounts that have gotten deleted, banned, or he's not reliable whatsoever. All he does is copy and paste his tweets. If you go back and look at most of them, all the the draft combine visits and stuff, all of those are just reported from beat reporters within the organizations. The whole league sources thing, that comes from Shams, Windhurst, all those types of tweets. Like, they're nothing that he says. It's kind of like Evan Sittery in a way. You know, once they'll post their ideas and thoughts and make it look like sources, and then, you know, once Shams or somebody breaks the news, they'll just repost it immediately. But yeah, I wouldn't take it seriously. Brooklyn at 8. This is a no-brainer. It's Jeremiah Fears, and we talked about this yesterday. I do believe Fears falls to 8 now. If he gets past
real lips to
Utah,
God's ears, man. Really, seriously.
If he gets past Utah at 5, I do believe that he gets to 8. Especially if this is how the framework of a draft looks. Philly doesn't need him. San Antonio doesn't need him. That puts him right into your lap. So yeah, I think we're in a perfect spot there to land him. The explosiveness that he brings, I look at him as like a Damian Lillard like player. He's got the swagger to his game, the confidence in his game. You know, he's able to create his own shot. He has a quick first step. He's able to get to the basket and finish at the rim. He's sneakily athletic. I wouldn't say he's like insanely athletic, but he has a sneaky bounce to him that he's showcased throughout his workouts this offseason and while at Oklahoma. The playmaking is definitely something that has a ton of upside as well. I absolutely love everything about his game. So I think he's a perfect fit.
That would be a blessing. Like that is kind of, to me, would save Marks. Like, all right, we got Fears. The tank didn't go tankingly, but we still got Fears. So I guess all is well that ends well. That's how highly I think of him. Toronto at 9. This is an interesting one because they're in the market for trades too.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to have the Atlanta Hawks move up here. I'm looking at the trade that I proposed. Let's see. Atlanta was rumored to potentially look into moving picks 13 and 22. So what I am going to do is, let's see. I got to try and find the picture of it that I had.
13 and 22 for 9.
I don't want to do that straight up.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, no, I guess I did. Okay, it's 13 and 22 for 9 and 39. So it's pretty much just swapping both of their picks. And I think it works out perfectly for each of them. I think that, you know, Atlanta would likely move off of the 39th pick, but it's also a non-guaranteed contract being a second-round pick, so maybe they'll decide to keep it. Atlanta moving up to 9, though, welcomes to the top 10 for the first time in my mock drafts, Derek Queen. I think that this is a really good fit. They need a backup big. They have a very, very solid roster constructed. You know, their starting 5 next year likely looks like Trae Young, Risha Shea, Jalen Johnson, Onyeka Okongwu, Karis LeVert, Dyson Daniels over Karis. So that's your starting 5. They're likely to bring back Karis LeVert. You know, they have Terrence Mann for now. They maybe could make a trade. I see them as a team that could look into RJ Barrett. You know, they have options out there. So adding him to that depth is really good for them. Let's see. What is Brian Lewis posting today? Oh, no. Why is he talking about Hugo Gonzalez? I do not like him as a prospect. All right. Houston's up at 10, and this is where we're going to do a blockbuster trade. It is a 3-team deal. It is going to be Kevin Durant to Houston. This is we're going to switch it up a bit.
How do I add a team here?
You're not going to be able to add a third team. So we're going to have to do the trade separately. So what we're going to do is, so here's the trade in full. I have the Rockets receive Kevin Durant, if you want to type that in.
Yeah.
The Suns receive Jalen Green, Nick Claxton, the 19th pick.
Green, Clax, and 19.
And their 2027 pick back.
And from Houston, 27.
Yeah.
First rounder from Rockets.
And Brooklyn would receive Dylan Brooks, Grayson Allen, and the 10th overall pick.
Brooks, Grayson Allen,
pretty much Brooklyn eats up at 2 bad contracts. Houston gets their guy at a minimal price. The Suns get their starting big man and their young piece at the 2 guard. This likely solidifies Devin Booker as a point guard for next season, but it at least gives him an opportunity to have some form of talent around him for one last season there. I still do expect him to leave after that season, but they're looking for quality players, and how much more quality can you get than a borderline all-star and a borderline defensive player of the year candidate? I think that that's a really good fit for trying to keep Booker happy for at least one more year. So what you're going to do is you're going to move pick 10 to Brooklyn.
To Brooklyn.
Yep. So just shift over 10.
Did we trade 19? We traded 19. Yeah.
But don't worry.
But that's going to Phoenix.
Yep.
Yeah.
So ready?
Okay.
So move 10 to Brooklyn.
Yep. All
and
right.
Then click trade picks. And then what you're going to do again is click trade pick. And you're going to go to trade partner. You're going to go to the Suns at 29.
I got you.
And then give them 19.
19. All right.
So KD ends up in Houston. Massive trade. Brooklyn gets to move up. And I know people continue to hate me for taking him over him, but I'm taking Carter Bryant over Esenge. Carter Bryant's going to be the 10th overall pick for Brooklyn. Derek Queen and Malawak are off the board. Go ahead and grab your 2 high upside players that you want.
We still have Cam Johnson in this scenario, right? We have not traded
as
Cam
of right
Johnson.
now, yes. And that's the problem is.
But we'll get to that in a minute.
Potentially not. He could be the off-season move. In this scenario that we're looking at, San Antonio got Trey Murphy, right? If this certain player that we're expecting to be on the board at 15 to OKC is on the board, I don't see them trading for Cam Johnson. So it kind of makes it difficult. Do you really want to trade Cam Johnson to move up into like 16, 17? Not really. And you'll see another trade happen here shortly that kind of affects you getting the 16th overall pick. So as of right now, we're going to have him staying on the team.
Let me address this from LBL real quick. How do you feel about a Queen comparison for Elton Brand? I don't mind that. I think that's a pretty good comp. Less effective outside the paint.
I just see DeMarcus Cousins. Elton Brand was horrible offensively. Queen's incredible offensively. Yeah. So I don't know. But yeah, Portland up at 11. I mocked this last time. Again, it doesn't make sense, but if he's on the board, it's kind of hard to pass up at 6'9". Go Yegor Demon. I do think that he will be a top 12 pick. And for a Portland team that's overachieved last year, I don't think Scoot Henderson is the true point guard of that team. So I think adding Yegor Demon, moving Scoot to the 2, trading guys like Shaedon Sharpe and Anthony Simons for, pretty solid returns. Same for Jeremy Grant. DeAndre Ayton's on his expiring contract. They're going to have a lot of cap space open up if they can move those 4 players to build a contending roster around Denny, Yegor, and Scoot. So it could be very interesting over there.
All right, Chicago
is at 12. Who did I have here? Chicago at 12. This is where we're going to do a trade. It is going to be with the Orlando Magic, who are rumored to want to move off of both of their first-round picks. And again, this is where we're going to have it be kind of interesting. Orlando's at 16. This is why I mentioned trading what's his name is going to be a bit difficult. So you're going to give up, let's see. You're going to give up 16, 25, and let's see. Yeah, 16th pick, 25th pick, Cole Anthony, and Jet Howard to Chicago for the 12th pick and Kobe White.
So it's 16 and 25, you said? Wait.
Yep, 16, 25, Cole Anthony, and Jet Howard to Chicago for Kobe White and the 12th pick. Pretty much moving 4 spots back, getting an additional first. You're in a rebuild in Chicago. You're likely to bring back Josh Giddey. So Kobe White, you're at least getting 2 first-round picks for, considerably a first-round pick, but you're moving 4 spots back. You get a young player in Jet Howard who's still on a rookie contract. Cole Anthony is a movable contract, so they could flip him at any time, but they're also looking to move Lonzo Ball, so maybe Cole plays the backup 1 behind Giddey. Regardless, though, Derek Queen's off the board. That's who I usually have going to Chicago. They already have Matas Pizzella, so I really don't think they need an Esengwe-like player, but neither does Orlando. So I'm going to have Orlando go with Kasparas Yakachonis. Even though they got Kobe White, having a backup point guard that can also play the shooting guard is definitely a need, and they also need big-time floor spacers. Yakachonis is a very good three-point shooter. So being able to have a starting rotation that consists of Kobe White at the 1, Jalen Suggs at the 2, Franz Paulo at the 3 and the 4, and then, of course, whoever they have at the 5, they'd still be able to have Yakachonis and the rest of that depth that they have over there off the bench. It would be Yakachonis, KCP. Trying to think of some other names. I'm going blank, but it's a very, very solid rotation over in Orlando. So I definitely think the 4-spot move up to add Kobe White and Yakachonis is a very good deal for them.
All right. Toronto's up at 13 with the pick they got from Atlanta.
Yeah, and this is kind of just best pick available, and I think Esengwe is the guy for them. When you have so many wings already, it's kind of difficult to figure out where his true spot will be on that team. But you missed out on KD. You traded back. At this point, go best player available. And I think with, Quickly still on the roster, Jamal Sheed as the backup point guard. They have Jakob Poeltl. There's really no big man that you can take at 13 to play that backup big man spot. Go and grab a backup wing with a ton of upside. And Esengwe by far, based on current players on the board, had the highest upside. Kind of reminds me of Pascal in a way.
Or back to San Antonio. Oh, yeah. They took Knuppel at 7, and they're back up at 14.
Yeah, they traded back. They didn't get KD. It didn't work out. So they're going to go ahead and take Colin Murray Boyles. Actually, you know what? Yeah, we're going to go Murray Boyles. I think that his defensive presence is something that will be intriguing to many teams who are ready to contend, specifically guys like San Antonio, OKC, Minnesota at 17. But in this instance, they're not trading the 14th pick. They missed out on KD. They're going to continue building their youth. And why not go and grab one of the best defenders in this class? LBL, why wouldn't Toronto take Raynaud there? Because that is a horrible spot for Raynaud.
That's really high that's really high.
That's a really bad spot.
Raynaud's a late first round or a second round guy.
Yeah. OKC is up at 15, and this is where I'm going to have them select Nick Clifford. Again, another reason why they're not going to trade for Cam Johnson is just why trade for a guy making $20.5 million when you can draft a guy who makes and rebounds at a better rate than he does, but will be on a rookie contract. I think it just makes a ton of sense for them. This is Chicago's first pick, right?
Yes.
All right. For Chicago, we're going to have them select Austin Newell. He did get a green room invitation, which means that he will be a first-round pick most likely. But in this instance, we're going to have him fall just outside of the lottery. Chicago, they end up missing out, like I said, on Derek Queen. So why not go grab Patrick Williams' replacement? And then Minnesota at 17. I'm going to have them select Liam McNeely. I'm not a fan of the pick. I'm really not a fan of McNeely at all. But they do need floor spacing really badly in the wing position, especially with Nickeil Alexander potentially on the move in free agency. So I like that for them. At 18 is Philly. This is where I'm going to have them select Cedric Coward out of Washington State. He's a 6'6" shooting guard senior. He only played 5 or 6 games this season, but his measurements at the combine really kind of skyrocketed his draft stock.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. What's causing? He didn't play much, but all of a sudden you hear his name all over the place. What's causing him to shoot up charts so much?
Insane wingspan, and then just the stats that he was able to put up on the efficiencies that he was able to put up in those short number of games this season. A lot of teams are intrigued by, especially contending teams like OKC at 15. If Philly was to drop back to 18, that makes a ton of sense. Minnesota at 17 makes a ton of sense. Miami at 20. So that's the range that I see him falling in. But for Philly, I think that's a perfect fit for him. Go grab a high upside player who could be the Embiid replacement at some point, and then also go grab your win now player in Coward, who, if he's healthy, is by far one of the best role players you have off the bench immediately.
Phoenix is up with our pick. They could go any direction with this. I mean, Phoenix is a really interesting team. KD is gone, obviously, in this scenario.
So I'm
Booker
thinking
is
of
still
this.
there.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this in the sense that they are committed to Booker. They feel that Booker is going to be there for at least another year or two, even though that can change at any time, of course. But the return that they got back would probably put them at Devin Booker at the point guard, Jalen Green at the 2 guard, Claxton at the 5, Ryan Dunn at the 3 or 4, and then figuring out what you do with Beal.
That's what I'm saying. They still have Beal in this scenario. And I
Yeah.
don't see how they don't have Beal. So, I mean, you got to factor in Beal's going to be there
Yeah.
because he's got the no trade also.
Exactly. And, even if he does have to start at the 3, I think that this is a guy that makes a ton of sense for them, Will Riley.
Okay.
He is Cam Johnson 2.0 in my eyes, and why not add a guy that Devin Booker absolutely loved while playing in Phoenix? So I think Will Riley could be a really important spot-up shooter off the bench, a 3 and D guy, similar to what Cam Johnson is today. And I definitely think that Will Riley is a very solid fit for the package that they got in return for KD. So Jalen Green, Nick Claxton, and Will Riley so far for Kevin Durant, pretty much. I think that's a great return.
Miami is up at 20.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Mark, a month ago, I didn't think that 3 playoff teams were going to land the top 3 picks, but it should happen. Miami's up at 20. Let's see. I have them going Nolan Traore. I mean, I think I had him go 16th.
He's got to go at some point, right?
Yeah. I think I had him go 16th last time to Orlando. In this one, I think Miami's a perfect spot for him. They're in need for a true point guard to kind of move Tyler Hero back to the 2. They've got guys like Duncan Robinson, Terry Rozier, guys that they could probably move off of to look to clear some cap space in the near future. I think that Traore is one of the higher upside point guards in this year's draft as well. So for Miami, I think that's a really good fit to have a nice core of Traore, Tyler Hero at the 2, Khalil Ware at the 4, and Bam Adebayo at the 5.
Yeah, Utah. Utah took Trey Johnson at what was it, 4? At 4, yeah.
Yeah, the trades have kind of died out, and we're going to continue on with that pace. Jace Richardson's going to be the 21st pick here to Utah. It's strange. Usually I don't have them take dual guards, but if they're serious about Keontae George and Collier not being long-term pieces for them, I think Jace Richardson and Trey Johnson complement one another's games perfectly. Jace Richardson is kind of that CJ McCollum-like guard where he doesn't need the ball in his hands necessarily. He's a very good catch-and-shoot 3 guy. For his size and position, he's an incredible defender. And Trey Johnson's the complete opposite. He needs the ball in his hands. He needs to create his own shots. He's 6'6". I think that those two together playing with one another makes perfect sense. They kind of take away from each other's deficiencies, whether it be lack of height, lack of playmaking ability, lack of floor space, whatever it may be. They definitely cancel one another out. So I think that those two are a perfect fit with one another next to Larry Markkinen and Walker Kessler.
All right. Toronto at 22. They already have Noah Asenge. That's how we're saying it. We decided that yesterday. Asenge. Yes. This is an interesting pick.
Yeah, I'm going to surprise.
You just go best player available here. What do you do here if you're? Do you go most NBA ready?
I'm going to surprise a lot of people here. They have Jakob Poeltl at the center position, but their backup center is some guy named Colin Castworth or something. I forgot his name. Juwan Beringer measured in yesterday with some very interesting intangibles. I believe he has like a 7'6", 7'7" wingspan at 6'10", 6'11". And that's who I'm going to have them take here. I think in terms of upside, it's a very interesting pick. And why not go and grab 2 French connections to bring to Toronto? He is shooting up boards. I don't know if there's a world he gets taken before Sorber, but in this case, we're going to do it. So yeah, Beringer at 23, or I'm sorry, at 22.
This is interesting because we still got Fleming and Sorber on the board. The NBA champion Indiana Pacers, which I've been saying for a month now, at 23, they just won a championship, like I predicted a month ago. What did they do at 23?
They're going to trade the pick back. We're going to have Brooklyn move up here. It's going to be the 26th pick and multiple future second-round picks to move up 3 spots to select Thomas Sorber.
All right, so we're trading them to Brooklyn. 23. For 26, you said it's 27, 26?
26, yep.
23 for 26 and multiple.
I also forgot to mention in the Houston trade for KD, the Suns also, or I'm sorry, the Rockets got the 36th pick. But we're not doing the second round today, so we don't have to worry about that.
All right. So, all right. So is it Sorber or is it Fleming?
It's going to be Sorber. I still think the big man spot is a position of need, especially if you're trading Nick Claxton.
As far as upside, who's got a higher upside between the two?
I still think it's Sorber.
So
I think Sorber. Are you talking him and Queen, or are you talking him and Fleming?
No, and Fleming. Him and Fleming. Sorber or Fleming.
I'm even saying I think he has a higher upside than Queen. And it's funny too because one of the guys from No Ceilings just put out something. It was like rank these big men in order, and it was Maliwa, Queen, and Sorber. And one of the guys even said he's like Sorber is my number 1. So it was interesting to see that some people are starting to see the upside that he has as a two-way defender in this draft. He kind of reminds me of like a Bam Adebayo in a way, just less athletic, if that makes sense. But
it does. Fleming is really high. I know he's a junior and that scares people a little bit. Fleming, people speak really highly of Fleming. We have him available at, what is this now? What are we at, 24?
24. And we're going to do a trade back here for OKC.
All right.
OKC's going to trade back. They're going to get, I just said multiple second-round picks. So you could say like 4 second-round picks from Detroit. Detroit gets to keep their 37th pick, but I don't think OKC needs to add another roster spot. I think they just need to move off of the pick entirely. So the 24th pick heads over to Detroit. Detroit gives up maybe 3 or 4 future second-round picks.
I just put multiple 2s.
Yeah, that works. But Detroit making an aggressive move up 13 spots to select 2 players in this year's draft. Nope, keep 37 in Detroit. Yep, we're going to work with it that way.
Wait, what did I do?
No, you're good. You're good. Keep it as it is. And they're going to select Fleming. I think that this is a perfect match.
Yeah, he can't stay on the board this long. I mean, he's got to go. I think
it makes a ton of sense. The floor spacing, he screams Detroit Piston. He's got that grit to him.
At this point, all of the good players are off, and now we're
you're starting to hit low level role player territory. Yeah. Which sucks because just a month ago, this is a part of the draft where you were looking at Boogie Flan, Isaiah Evans, Yaxel Lendeborg. There is a ton of guys that were still available at these picks. But yeah, no, these picks are definitely less valuable now because of that. Which will make it very interesting.
White guys and juniors. So it's like, what are we doing here? Yeah.
With the 25th pick, this is Chicago right now via Orlando.
Yeah.
I'm going to have them select Danny Wolf. This is going to be the Nikola Vucevic replacement at some point in time. Whether that be Vucevic being traded this offseason or at the deadline, or even if they let his final year of his contract run through, I think that it makes a ton of sense for them to go out and get Danny Wolf. At that point, you've built a core that consists of Josh Giddey, Asa Noel, you have Danny Wolf, Matas Buzelis at the 3, and then Ayo Dezuma at the 2. I think that's very interesting in terms of the youth that it brings. Not to mention, you also have some guys off of the bench, Cole Anthony, Jet Howard, who you got in that trade. So I think it's just a really well-rounded draft and young core for Chicago that they're building. But with Indiana at 26, this is where I'm going to have them select. I just want to make sure I have the pick right. I'm going to have them select Maxime Reynaud. Boston is 2 picks away, and I do believe that Boston is a team targeting Reynaud. But Indiana does need a backup big, especially a potential starting big if Miles Turner decides to leave. And why not go ahead and grab a guy who is already being comped to Brook Lopez? Can do a little bit of everything on the offensive end, is a very good rebounder and rim protector. I think that as a backup big man on a contending team right away, I think it makes a ton of sense for him.
We're up with our 4th pick in the draft. We got Fears, Carter Bryant, and Sorber. I mean, that's a hell of a draft. If this was reality, I'm super happy with this. But what do we take with that? We won't have 36. So this would be our last pick in the draft. I think I know where you're going to go.
Yeah, I mean, you could go one of 3 players here to me. Noah Penda, an incredible defensive player. He's being comped to Nick Batum. Addo Thiaro is a guy who's been linked to Brooklyn many times. But I think if you get Carter Bryant, adding Addo Thiaro kind of just doesn't make too much sense. They're very similar.
And,
yeah. And for that, I'm going to go with one of my fan favorites, who I think is one of the sleepers of this draft, and that's Boga Markovic.
Oh, I thought we're going Saraf here. We're going Boga. All right.
We're going Bogo, man. I think at 6'11", he reminds me a lot of a Kristaps Porzingis-like player. And I just think that the versatility that he brings as a stretch 4 is something. I was going to ask,
is he more of a 4 or a 5? He's a 4?
He's more of a 4. I mean, I have him comped on my recent mock draft as Hedo Turkoglu and Larry Markkanen. That's kind of the upside that I see in him, based on his offensive skill set, his ball handling, his floor spacing. A lot of it is very similar to those two. So I think that adding him as a high upside swing pick late in the first, even though he may not be projected until the second round, maybe whether that be like the 31 through 36 range, I still think taking a swing on him late in the first is very beneficial, and something that Brooklyn should 100% look into.
So our draft ends up, depending on how you feel. I don't know anything about Boga. I'll take Dylan's word for it. The rest of the draft, you have to love this, right? You got Carter Bryant at 10, Fears at 8, and then what was our other? Thomas Sorber. So you basically checked all the boxes. You filled all the needs with the best player you could realistically have gotten. If this happened, and Cam Johnson is still on the team, so we could still move him. This is well done. If you're the Brooklyn Nets, you're happy with this, right?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely happy. And this also puts you in a position now to maximize on the value of Cam Johnson, right?
Yeah.
The key is adding an additional 2026 first-round pick. Not many teams that are interested in Nick Claxton have the ability to offer up a 2026 first, because they're all contending teams and all of them don't own their 2026 first, or they're not tradable because of the Stephen rule. Now, Cam Johnson, on the other hand, though, a lot more teams are interested in him. And one team specifically that I mentioned earlier, if they decide to move off of a guy like Isaiah Joe or an Aaron Wiggins, they're definitely still in a position to where they can offer up a 2026 first and an additional first for Cam Johnson, and that's OKC. If they're serious about contending, they're struggling this season in the finals against Indiana. I think that they need to go and get win now players, and if there's a world where they can add both Nick Clifford and Cam Johnson this offseason, I think that that's a major step in the right direction for them to become a dynasty in this league. So I would expect OKC to be one of the primary focal points of Brooklyn this offseason, if this was our scenario, of course, right? Say that Brooklyn does get involved in the KD trade and he ends up in Houston, you get that package in return. This is how your draft goes, and Nick Claxton's gone. You have Cam Johnson still on the roster. That's the move that I would expect, is Cam Johnson to OKC. So one could hope.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, do we take the 4th pick here? Or do we try to trade this 4th pick for a pick in next year's draft? But you would say,
I don't. There's not many teams that also are like so. Okay, so if you scroll up again, go to trade pick. The only teams that I could see Brooklyn trading with at 27 is Dallas, Denver, and maybe Milwaukee. But Milwaukee, all three of those teams don't own their 2026 first-round pick, right?
Okay, so
And none
I
of
mean,
them,
yeah,
and a large majority of them don't even have tradable picks. Dallas has a couple of tradable picks, but a lot of them are swap worst or least favorables. The only valuable pick they have is the Lakers pick. I doubt that they give that up. And then Denver, they only have 4 picks in their stash. They could only give up a 2031 swap, I believe. And
yeah, I'm not
Milwaukee
interested in
has no
that.
picks either.
Yeah,
So to me, just go grab the highest upside swing. I really like it. I don't mind Ado Thiaro there at 27, but again, like I said, I just don't like the fit between him and Carter Bryant being very similar in terms of
yeah.
just the way that they play. It's very similar. So go out and grab some versatility. And I think if you add, a really good two-way center, a stretch 4, a 3-and-D high caliber wing in Carter Bryant, who I see as like an OG Anunoby floor with a Kawhi Leonard ceiling. And then, of course, Jeremiah Fears next to Cam Thomas. I think that is a very intriguing roster for Brooklyn moving forward.
All right, we're almost through this. We're all the way at Boston at 28. We got a couple picks left. Raynard is gone. That's who we've been putting there.
I'm gonna go with the guy.
I don't know what Boston does at this point. No Tatum. They're gonna trade Drew Holiday. I don't know what happens with JB. What do they do here?
I'm going to go with a guy who I have never mocked in the first round before, and I'm talking about even the early ones that we were doing 2-3 months ago. He's not on the board, so you're going to have to click center, the center position, and go down. I wrote in Flory Badunga, but you can use Alex Condon for this instance. So click draft Alex Condon, and you're going to type in Yannick Konan Niederhauser.
Yannick with a J or a Y, or how do I do this?
Yanic. Konan is Konan. And then Niederhauser. It is Niederhauser. And if you aren't familiar with him yet, I recommend looking him up.
And nobody is, so tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, he's a junior. He plays the 4. He plays the 5. He's 6'11", 7 feet. But if you look him up, there have been videos surfacing of him where he has probably some of the best ball handling skills I've seen out of a big man in my life. He is very versatile, very athletic. He does not move like he's 7 foot. There's something very scary about him and his tangibles as well. His measurements came in. He exceeded a lot of the expectations in that department as well. So I think that he's slowly rising up boards. And for a Boston team that's looking for anything to help them, for the near future when Tatum returns, the big man position, I think, is the biggest need for them. And with Raynard off the board, with Wolf off the board, I don't think Kalkbrenner has the upside that Yannick has. So that's why I have them going Niederhauser there.
Yeah. I'm looking at his stats right here. So he's a third year at Penn State, transferred from Illinois. He averaged 13 points, 6.5 rebounds, 2.5 blocks, shot 61%. I'm guessing he's mostly a dunker offensively, or what's his offensive game like?
He's able to put the ball on the floor. He's able to create his own shot. He has a solid mid-range game. He can space the floor at the 3. He's extremely athletic. He can do a little bit of everything. It's very scary.
All right.
I mean, if you look at his last 5 college games, this is from February 19th to March 8th. I'm going from February 19th upward. He had 19 points, 2 blocks, 4 rebounds. He shot 70% from the field, 83% from the free throw line. Game 2, he had 24 points, 5 blocks, 7 rebounds, shot 64.3% from the field, 85.7% from the free throw line. Game 3, he had 16 points, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks, 50%, 85.7% from free throw again. And then he had 1 bad game, 8 points, 5 turnovers, 6 rebounds, 3 blocks, 42.9% from the field, 50% free throw. And then in his final college basketball game, he had 15 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 blocks, shot 63.6% from the field. So a lot of versatility in his game. He's showcasing a 3 in his workouts. He didn't really showcase it in the college basketball season, so maybe it's something that Boston allows him to develop in the game next year. But regardless, he showcased something that not many bigs can, and that's the ability to put the ball on the floor and put in and be very athletic at 7 foot. I think that's something that not many players have in this league at 7 foot. So it could be scary over there.
Friend of the program, Alan, saying Hawks are not trading 13 and 22 for Queen. They come at Maluak. I'm guessing Maluak was gone when we drafted.
Yeah, we had him go 6 to Philly.
Yeah. Queen's not going to be there at 13, right?
No, and even if he is available at 9, Toronto's taking him. Toronto loves Maluak, so regardless, you're not getting him. But yeah, I like the move. I think Onyeka and Queen could be a very interesting big man duo. They're very separate from one another. Onyeka is a really good shot blocker, very solid rebounder, but he can also do things on the offensive end. Queen is a primary offensive player. I think it's a solid fit. But let's get these last 2 picks out of the way because I know that we're going to have to recap this as well. Phoenix is back up. This is where I'm going to have them select Adou Thiaro. And like I said, I think Phoenix is in a position where they need to try and keep Devin Booker happy, right? And kind of a similar situation as we did with a previous pick. I'm forgetting who it was specifically. I think it was Philly, where we had them select a high upside guy, and then we also had them select a win now guy. It's kind of similar with Phoenix, right? Phoenix took Will Riley at 19, and now they're getting Adou Thiaro at 29. One guy with upside as a 3-and-D guy, another guy who's ready to go now as a 3-and-D guy. And I think Thiaro could be a perfect fit alongside a guy like Ryan Dunn, and then, of course, Nick Claxton in that front court. So very, very interesting rotation that they would have moving forward. They'd have a roster that consists of Booker, Beal, Jalen Green, Claxton, Ryan Dunn, Adou Thiaro, Will Riley, Nick Richards, Royce O'Neal. So that's a pretty solid rotation for a team in Phoenix that genuinely had no depth to them whatsoever over the past 2 years.
Final pick in the first round. The Clippers, we got a lot of names. Saraf, Penda, Drake Powell. We got a lot of interesting names still available at 30.
Yeah, and that's why I said the top 40 is definitely good, and it drops off after that. But for the final pick, I'm going to have them go with Noah Penda.
Yeah.
Batum is rumored to be retiring here shortly, and why not go ahead and grab the guy who's rumored to be the next Nick Batum? At 6'8", 242 pounds, he's an incredible defender. Very solid shooter as well. Nothing crazy to his game. He's going to be a role player. I don't see any star level upside to his game, but I don't see him slipping out of the first round. Guys like Saraf, Hugo Gonzalez, Cam Jones, Drake Powell, those are guys that I could see slipping out of the first round. But overall, I think that this is a very accurate assessment of what potential trades could look like. Maybe not specifically the players within the trades, but just specific teams trying to move up in the draft, like the Hawks, like the
recap this real quick. I gotta take a leak, so go over real quick. I'll be back in 1 minute.
But yeah, overall, I'll recap the picks as a whole. Number 1 overall was Cooper Flagg. The New Orleans Pelicans trade Trey Murphy and the 7th pick to San Antonio for Keldon Johnson in the 2nd pick. They end up getting Dylan Harper. Washington trades up picks 6 and 18 for Andre Drummond in the 3rd pick from Philly. Washington selects Ace Bailey at 3, Edgecombe at 4 to Charlotte, Trey Johnson at 5 to Utah, Maluak at 6 to Philly, Con Kneppel at 7 to San Antonio, Jeremiah Fears at 8 to Brooklyn. We had Atlanta trade picks 13 and 22 to move up to 9, and they also got back the 39th overall pick from Toronto. Atlanta was able to select Derek Queen. Carter Bryant, this is a 3-team deal that we had with Houston and Phoenix, which was Jalen Green, Nick Claxton, the 19th overall pick, and a 2027 first-round pick back to Phoenix. That was what the Suns got. Houston got KD in the 36th overall pick. Brooklyn got Dylan Brooks, Grayson Allen, and the 10th overall pick. So Carter Bryant was the pick at 10 for Brooklyn. Yegor Demon was the 11th overall pick for Portland. Kasparas Yakachonis ended up heading to Orlando in a trade at 12. It was the 16th pick, the 25th pick, Cole Anthony and Jet Howard to Chicago for the 12th pick and Kobe White. So pretty much they're solidifying their backcourt. They'd have a starting 5 that consists of Kobe White, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and Wendell Carter Jr. They'd have guys like KCP, Kasparas Yakachonis, and some other guys off the bench as well. At 13, we have Noah Senge heading to Toronto after the Atlanta trade. At 14, from San Antonio, we have Colin Murray Boyles, the South Carolina sophomore. Nick Clifford going 15 to OKC. Austin Noel going to at 16 to Chicago via the Orlando trade. Liam McNeely going 17 to Minnesota. Cedric Coward going 18 to Philly. Will Riley going 19 to Phoenix. Nolan Traore going 20 to Miami. And then 21 through 30 is Jace Richardson going to Utah. Jawan Beringer going to Toronto. Brooklyn trades up to 23 with Indiana to select Thomas Sorber. Detroit trades up to 24 with OKC to select Rasheer Fleming. Chicago, via the Orlando trade, gets Danny Wolf at 25. Indiana at 26 gets Maxime Reynaud. The Nets, with their final pick of the draft at 27, select Bogoljub Markovic out of Serbia. Boston selects Yannick Conan Niedenhauser. And then Phoenix and the Clippers end off the draft with Ado Thiaro and Noah Penda. So full first round, trades included. This was by far the most fun that I've had doing one. I actually was working on it for like 3 or 4 hours last night trying to figure out the exact picks and trades that I wanted to do. But overall, again, I think these are very specific teams that could be looking to trade up or trade back in this year's draft. Of course, the players, the picks, whatever's included is always up in the air and hypotheticals. But overall, I think it could be very possible come draft night.
All right. Let's just review what this, if this were to happen, what it would mean for our Brooklyn Nets. Pete was up all night trying to get Fears back to the Nets, and we did it. We got Fears to the Nets. Pete thinks he's Pete. How I'm calling you Pete. Dylan thinks he's just falling to 8. Like, we're not going to have to pull any strings. We don't have to trade it before or 6 or anything to get him. He thinks he's simply going there. I mean, Fears is simply falling to 8. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. So, I mean, if that's the case, and I could see it, to me, it seems like we may need a little luck. But, I mean, how realistic do you think it is that Fears just organically falls in our laps?
I think it's just teams that are looking to trade back, teams that are looking to trade up, and then I think we lost Gary. Oh, no. Gary has been disconnected. Let's see if he joins back here in a second. There he is.
I'm back.
It's always something with you, Gary. Come on.
StreamYard is bugging. All right. I was addressing this comment. We were addressing this comment. Pete was up all night trying to get Fears back to the Nets. We're talking about Fears organically falling to 8, falling in our lap to 8, without having to trade up for him or pretend that he's going to fall to us. How realistic do you think this is? I fell off when you answered.
I was going to say, I think that it's very realistic, simply because of the teams who are looking to trade up and the teams who are looking to trade back. Say Philly and San Antonio are teams picking between 5 and 7, right? It doesn't make sense for them to take Jeremiah Fears. At that point, you're looking at one possible threat for him, and that would be either Utah or Washington, depending on which team doesn't trade up. So I do believe that he will fall to us at 8, and hope for the best.
If we get Fears and then we also get Carter Bryant, we're changing our franchise that night. My biggest fear is that we just get Con Kneppel or Trey Johnson and our franchise. You don't think there's any chance that Trey Johnson falls?
I don't even want to talk about it. Don't put it into the universe. Nope. We're not.
I think if we put it out there, it won't happen. I really want Trey Johnson. Sean Marks, please draft Trey Johnson when he falls to us.
Please do it. He's the key to the championship.
Yes, please. He's really good at basketball. We need to have him on our team. But you don't think there's any chance that Trey Johnson falls to 8? Because I've seen him mocked ahead of Ace Bailey in some mocks.
The thing is if there was no trades, I don't see him getting past either Utah or Washington. Even New Orleans at 7 makes a ton of sense for him because they need a CJ McCollum replacement for when his contract expires this year. So I don't think Trey Johnson should fall, personally. I think he should be a top 6 lock at this point.
To me, that was the one good thing about drafting 8 was that we didn't have to have the Trey Johnson conversation. Because I know there's going to be a lot of people who love his offensive game, who love his bag. I know that they're out there, and I didn't want to have this conversation for 2 months building up to the draft. As should we draft Trey Johnson? Because the Trey Johnson, and you see what Utah, you see with other fan bases, the Trey Johnson truthers are out there. There's a lot of people who like Trey Johnson. I hope he has a great career. He's a Longhorn. He's a local guy. Right? He's from 30 minutes from me. I hope he has a great career. I just hope it's not in Brooklyn.
Oh, Airy Report is trying to drop some bombs again. Continuing to hear a potential 3-team trade between Phoenix, Minnesota, and Brooklyn. Yeah, we'll see. I still don't understand how Minnesota gets that shit done.
Give me what's the trade?
He doesn't even have a trade.
He doesn't have a trade, yeah.
But it just doesn't make sense because from my knowledge, you're not able to trade players who have player options due, unless if they accept the player option in advance and then they're able to get traded. But it just doesn't. I don't get what Minnesota and Phoenix are both second apron teams. So
how does a trade between 2 second apron teams work?
So
because
as a second apron team, you can't aggregate a trade, meaning that you can only send out one player, and if you send out 2 players, you have to make sure that you're not taking back more than like half their salary, right? So like for KD, for example, he's making $54 million a year. If you trade him for, let's just say, Julius Randle and Nick Claxton, then the Suns would have to give up Grayson Allen's contract without receiving anything in return because he's making $16.8 million, and the money that they're taking back is $1 million more than what they can actually take back. So realistically, it's like they're freeing up $15 million in cap space, which even then I still think they have to free up more, which is why it's very difficult to trade with a second apron team.
Yeah, right.
Even just doing a straight up deal with a second apron team is very difficult, let alone adding a second apron team into the mix. So it's very complicated. I personally don't know why Minnesota is even a team of interest. I think that they need to figure out their own shit before going after a 37-year-old on a 1 or 2 more years left in his career. But hey, at this point, if they get KD, they're gonna have nothing else. Does Anthony Edwards
what is the trade market? Like what is fair market value for 37-year-old Kevin Durant? Like what is fair market value?
I think a young piece, a role player, and 2 picks, one in this year's class, one in a future class.
So I'm just giving out a team. So like if you were Philly, McCain and then 2 number ones, is that a fair trade? I don't even know. I'm just using that as an example.
I don't know.
I know that couldn't happen.
Philly's another tough team because the only chip that they have to match with his contract is Paul George.
Right. And no, I'm just saying, put the money aside for a minute. Just saying, they would have to take back money, right? Yeah, it's going to be hard for them. I mean, they're going to get a Durant trade done, but it's going to be complicated because of the position that they're in. I just don't think Durant, he doesn't have the same market value he did 2.5 years ago, whatever, when we traded him. He's old.
No, I agree. It's a very strange fit. And again, like I was saying, he's got maybe 2 more years left in the league. Anthony Edwards' contract comes up in like 3 years. Who's to say that if they get KD, it doesn't work out and they have nothing else to build a roster around Ant, that he doesn't request a trade?
Yeah.
He's one of the guys that I have pinned as a player who could request a trade within the next 2 or 3 years. Kind of similar how I had Devin Booker last year within the next 2 or 3 years. Similar to how I had KD 2 years ago. Similar to how I had Giannis 2 years ago. Pascal 3 years ago. Like, when it comes to predicting guys who could be available for trade down the line, I'd like to think that I'm pretty decent at it. Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, Trae Young, Ja Morant. Those are the guys that I see. Giannis. These are still guys that I see within the next 1 to 2 years that could be on the move.
For sure, guys like Ant and Ja Morant, right? Because Minnesota, I can't. They've gotten to the conference finals 2 years in a row, which has been surprising to me, especially this year. But how are they really going to take that next jump? You got other teams getting better, San Antonio, Houston, etc. How is Minnesota And then obviously you still have OKC. How is Minnesota going to get ahead of those teams? Like, to me, the answer is they can't, right? Like, it would take injuries for all those teams for Minnesota to jump those teams. So, like, there's nothing that Minnesota can do. So, and it's just going to waste away in Minnesota. I can't see that happening. So he's going to, and the same thing with John Morant in Memphis, right? And Memphis is far from contending. So both those guys to me are, and then obviously Giannis is going to want to be traded too. So yeah, those guys are all.
Like, I'm trying to look up a trade right now between Minnesota, Phoenix, and Brooklyn because I was trying to mess around with those. I could never come up with a deal that worked for all sides. I mean, I'll try again, but you would have to think. Okay, so of course KD to Minnesota, Julius Randle to Phoenix, Dante DiVincenzo to Phoenix, maybe Rob Dillingham to Brooklyn. Is that the deal? Is that it? No,
Give
it's
me
not.
one more time.
No, it failed. Let's see. What else needs to be moved? The Timberwolves have to give up $5.2 million. Jesus Christ. I don't see them getting rid of Naz Reid. I don't see how they can get rid of Mike Conley if they're giving up Rob Dillingham. So maybe do they give up Leonard Miller? Does that work? That does work. Okay. So, I mean, this is fucking ridiculous, dude. It's just a horrible, like, it doesn't make sense. But let's just say, let's see. I'm trying to work this out right now. Bear with me. And then Brooklyn gives up 19. All right, let's see if this works. Trying to read it in my head before saying anything to not look stupid, because this trade is just ridiculous. Okay, so it would be Rob Dillingham, Leonard Miller, and the 17th overall pick to Brooklyn. Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, Brooklyn's 19th and 27th overall picks, plus a Minnesota future first. And then Minnesota would get Kevin Durant. Like, I think that's a horrible deal. I don't know what Minnesota's doing. They would have no depth.
Yeah.
They would have no youth. Like, it doesn't make sense.
You're taking a swing, right? It was like back in the day when Detroit traded for Iverson. You're just saying what I have now isn't going to get me over the top, right? So let me try to pull a rabbit out of a hat. Like, that's what they're doing. I don't hate it. I don't think it's going to work. But, like, if you're Minnesota, for the reasons I just gave, you're close now. You've been in the conference finals 2 years in a row. How are you getting over the hump? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're in a rough spot.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's a very difficult position to be in if you're Minnesota. It's, I mean, at this point, I would be more interested in trying to flip, like, Julius Randle, the 17th pick, and a future first for a guy like Trey Murphy.
Could you sign and trade? It's a fair question.
No, they want to keep Naz.
Is it realistic to keep him, though? With their cap position, he's going to demand a lot of money. We're looking at least 25 to 30 for Naz Reid, are we not?
If you're able to move off of Julius Randle and Dante, that clears up about $42 million. And then moving off of Dillingham and Leonard Miller, that pretty much clears up $50 million. So you're taking back about $4.5 million for KD's contract. And then you also have to remember Nickeil Alexander is a free agent. Mike Conley's on an expiring deal. And Naz Reid's already making about, $13-15 million a year. So upping his contract $10 million. It's not going to be the end of the world. There's still going to be a second apron team, but you're allowed to bring back your own guys. It just affects your second apron more.
All right. I don't know what this is a reference to. It's a safe space, Pete. What is that? Did I miss something?
I was mentioning about the Timberwolves trade because I was reading it in my head, trying to think if it was like logical or not.
Okay.
I mean, hey, if the Nets can walk away with Dillingham, a 2-spot move up, and potentially Leonard Miller, that's very cool. But I doubt it. I really don't know what the Nets would get back in return. Maybe Dante DiVincenzo, because they're not going to try and trade Jaden McDaniels. I doubt the Nets are going to look to bring in Julius Randle. So kind of leaves you in a really bad spot.
All right. I got to wrap this up in a minute. When do you want to come back? Are you available this weekend? What's your schedule like?
I'll be available Monday. Saturday.
Monday?
Yeah, Saturday I'm a bit busy. Sunday I'm a bit busy.
All right.
Yeah, let's shoot for Monday.
Monday works. We're getting close to the draft. I was about to call you Pete again because Lou's got it stuck in my brain.
It's contagious.
We're getting close to the draft. We're getting close. We'll do some Monday. We'll do another mock draft this week. But we're getting close. And then what's your predictions for the rest of the NBA Finals?
I got OKC in 7.
I got Indy in 7. So we will see. That was my pick from the beginning. Well, after Indy beat Cleveland, I was all in on Indy going to win the championship.
Oh, here comes Shams. There could be a Kevin Durant trade in the next few days. The focus of the Suns conversations have been on a few of the teams, the Rockets, Heat, and Timberwolves. So it looks like the Spurs are out.
What are the Heat doing with them, though? Like, even if the Heat get
Heat,
Kevin
to me,
Durant,
actually makes the most sense. Like,
are
I
they
think
a contender if they get him?
Miami. Yeah. I think they're a contender in the East if you get KD. You'd have Hero, KD, and.
But you got to give something up. You got to give up equal salary.
So if it's a 3-team deal, and Brooklyn was involved with it, let's just say, right? So it's Miami, Brooklyn, and Phoenix, because they have the contracts to get it done. Phoenix gives KD to the Heat. Miami gives up, let's just say, Andrew Wiggins to the Suns, as well as Nikola Jovic, and Duncan Robinson gets sent to the Nets. So in that case,
but that's not enough for Kevin. And then a bunch of picks.
Well, I was going to say, so the Suns would get the 20th pick, and then maybe a future first. So let's just say 2030. And then the Nets get a first-round pick swap.
It just doesn't seem like they're getting enough. I really don't know what the trade market is for a 37-year-old Kevin Durant.
I know, that's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, if you can just get a player and a pick swap without having to give up a single piece, I don't see why not. But yeah, it's difficult. That's why I said Houston and San Antonio make the most sense. I still think San Antonio is the team that makes the most sense, but
I agree. I think San Antonio, for sure, they have the capital to get him. They're in win now mode. If they get him, they're in win now mode. I think San Antonio makes the most sense if they get him. I'm not saying they're the favorite in the West, but they're on a very short list. Assuming Wemby is healthy, they're on a very short list. Look at the size and length you have up front with 6'11" Kevin Durant and then 7'4" Wemby. Like that's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something to be worried about for sure. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple of days.
All right, Dylan, good show. I like this mock. I like how it ended up for us. From your lips to God's ears, hopefully the draft looks something like this. I'm a big Carter Bryant guy. I wanted him at 19 originally. Obviously, that's not going to happen as he's shooting up draft boards. But I think Carter Bryant is a really, really high-end role player. Athlete, 3-and-D guy, can defend multiple positions. If we end up with him, along with an impact player like Fears, you got to be happy with that, right? Like, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a crazy couple of days. Who knows what's going to happen? But I think Fears and Carter Bryant is definitely a perfect lottery duo to select if they're available, of course. But
and then we got Sorber in that mock draft too. So I mean that's we checked all the boxes. We got everything that we would want.
Hey, we got a Scoop B exclusive. Hearing the Spurs have only brought in one player for a workout, and that's Dylan Harper. He visited their facility earlier this year and returned to New Jersey yesterday. I'm told San Antonio wants him at number 2. The Nets are also interested as well. But also hearing the Jazz at number 5 have eyes on Rutgers Ace Bailey. Dude, this entire fucking top 8's going to get so scrambled. It's going to be ridiculous.
The NBA did a good job. Adam Silver did a good job of bringing intrigue into the draft, right? Like he got these good teams. He got 2 major players at 1 and 2. There's going to be a bunch of trades.
He probably saw how pissed off the fans were and how many people were starting to call him out on the rigging bullshit and was like, all right, you know what? You guys got to trade some of these picks. We got to make this look all right. Like this shit's all a setup.
Adam Silver cares that he knows he rigged the draft. Obviously, he knows he rigged it. He's the one that rigged it. Do you think he cares that the NBA fan base calls him out? Like he's gonna do it again. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. Like to me, he's just, Adam Silver is like he's blatantly doing it. That's my point. Is he's doing it in front of your face with complete disrespect. No one thinks it's legitimate. No one thinks that they threw a bunch of balls and this is the way it ended up, right? I mean, nobody thinks that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be a fucking hectic couple of days.
What were the odds of this happening? Like 0.4% or something like that?
What?
Of having San Antonio 2 and Dallas 1. It was like 0.4%.
It was 0.4% for Dallas to move up.
The whole thing was ridiculous, right? Like it was. It's like this did not happen organically. This does not happen via. All right, Pete. Any closing thoughts? Pete, I did it again.
I was gonna say silent just to see if you know. Lou, do you see the influence that you have on people?
I'm looking at Pete has a nice Nets Press. Pete has a nice ring to it.
I'm gonna have to legally change it at this point. Fuck.
Yeah.
Man. Wow. Yeah. No. I think that we covered it all. I think it was a really good mock draft, and I will be writing an article on that mock draft here shortly. Should be posted either later today, if not tomorrow afternoon. So keep an eye out for that. If you haven't already, feel free to follow me on Instagram at NetsPress. We're on the road to 21,000 over there. And if you aren't already, feel free to check me out on Substack. That's where all of my articles go. I don't even know how that works. Just look up NetsPress. You should be able to find me. But feel free to follow me over there.
The link I put the link. The link is in the description. I got the link for Substack in the description. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Click the description.
All right. June 13th, 2025, from Texas to the world. Thank y'all. God bless.
Later.